Marking and cutting of fabric for uniform half skirt with box pleats. As we have constructed the pattern for a uniform half skirt, we will now see how to mark and cut the pattern on a fabric. At the end of the session, you will be able to mark the pattern of a uniform half skirt with box pleats on a fabric, mark the waistband on the fabric, mark the adjustable hook closure on fabric, mark the belt loops on the fabric, and cut fabric along the drafted lines. First, let's familiarize with the tools and materials required for marking and cutting the pattern on fabric. They are 50 inches or 1¼ meters of fabric, pattern square, tailor's chalk, measuring tape, and shears. Let's see how to mark the pattern of half skirt on the fabric. Let's first check if the cut edge is in a right angle to the selvage edge, and if not, we will cut it right now with the help of the L square. Then measure the length of 37 inches from the cut edge along the selvage edge and make a mark. We are not starting from the selvage edge since it is thicker for this fabric. From this mark, fold the fabric along the widthwise grain over. From the selvage edge, measure 23 inches along the cut edge and make a mark. This is point 0 and the cut edge is the baseline and side seam. Make a few more marks of 1 inch along the selvage edge down to the fold. Then connect these marks in a straight line. The point where this newly drawn line and the fold meet is point 3. From point 3, measure the skirt length of 22 inches along the fold, which is the other side seam, and make a mark. This is point 2. From line 1-3, measure 22 inches at a few places and make marks. Connect these marks in a straight line. This is the waistline. Then from point 1, measure 4 inches up along the baseline or the side seam and make a mark. This is point 4. Keep measuring and marking 4 inches upward from line 1-3. Connect these marks in a straight line. Where this line meets the fold is point 5. This line is the final length of the half skirt. From point 0 along the baseline and side seam, measure 5 inches and make a mark to indicate the opening at the left side of the half skirt. Thus we have completed marking the half skirt piece. Then cut along the folded edge to get 2 long pieces for the front and the back skirt. At the 5-inch mark, fold the double layer fabric and snip a corner off to get a notch. Thus, we have finished marking and cutting fabric for the skirt part. The next bigger piece is the waistband. We will cut it from the remaining piece of fabric along the lengthwise grain. Ensure a right angle at the corner where the 2 cut edges meet. Here, we need to correct it. Here we can use the straight cut edge as the length of the waistband. The place where the 2 cut edges meet in a right angle is point 8. From point 8, measure 25 inches along the cut edge and make a mark. This is point 6. From point 6, draw a right angle line into the fabric for about 4 to 5 inches. Then measure 4 inches along this line and make a mark. This is point 7. Measure 4 inches and make marks along the cut edge of the fabric. Now connect these marks in a straight line. The point where this line and the cut edge meet is point 9. Now we can cut out the waistband along the drafted lines. Thus we have finished marking and cutting fabric for the waistband. Next, we will see how to mark and cut fabric for the hook closure. For that, draw a rectangle with 4.5 inches length and 1 inch width. Again draw a rectangle with 2.25 inches length and 3/4 inches width. We will need 2 pieces of the same size. Cut along the drafted lines. Thus we have finished marking and cutting fabric for making the hook closure. Now let's see how to mark and cut fabric for the belt loops. Draw a rectangle with 3.5 inches length and 1.5 inch width. We need 4 pieces of the same size. Cut along the drafted lines. Thus we have marked and cut fabric for making the belt loops. In this session, we have marked and cut fabric pieces for making a half skirt. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in marking and cutting pattern of the half skirt on fabric. They are: Step 1. For the skirt piece, first measure and mark the length of 37 inches from the cut edge along the selvage edge. Step 2. Fold the fabric along the widthwise grain over and from the selvage edge, measure 23 inches along the cut edge and make a mark. Step 3. Mark the waistline, skirt opening and bottom hem and cut the fabric. Step 4. Mark and cut a 25/4 inch fabric for the waistband. Step 5. Mark and cut one piece of 4.5 by 1 inch rectangle and 2 pieces of 2 3/4 by 3/4 inch rectangles for the hook closure. Step 6. Mark and cut 4 pieces of 3.5 by 1.5 inch rectangles for belt loops. With that, we have come to the end of this session.